All right. Well, Jake, whenever you're ready, we're live.
Okay. Let's get it. Well, on December 7th, 1941, Japanese warplanes dropped bombs on U.S. ships in Pearl Harbor, killing 2,403 Americans and destroying much of the U.S. Pacific Fleet of warships. That very next day, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt declared war on Japan, and the United States entered World War II. A boy by the name of Calvin Graham of Houston, Texas, who was one of the many thousands who enlisted in the United States Navy. The unusual thing about Calvin Graham was that he was only 12 years old. Military historians call him the youngest U.S. soldier of the 20th century. Calvin Graham, was he too young to be a hero? Find out on this episode of Laughs from the Crass.
Whoa, how did you say military?
I think I said military.
That's what it sounded like to me. Something along the lines of military.
Yeah, I think I went for military, and then a C found its way in there, and that really, really put a wrinkle in
it. Really kind of derailed it.
Yeah, I think that's a little from seeing Wicked last night. They do that with some of the words in the play. They mess them up intentionally.
They do?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know if it's a play on Oz or whatever it is. I'm trying to think of an example they use, but like instead of saying deliberation, they'd say something like deliberated, or something like that, just to be silly. So I'll blame it on that. But
good joke.
Basically, just threw a C in there.
Can I answer the question from the intro right away? Was the 12-year-old boy too young to be a hero?
Yes.
I don't want to spoil it, but it's a hard yes.
He's too young to be a hero?
Yeah.
Damn.
No. He is a hero, but no 12-year-old boy should be asked to be a hero.
Well, that's a different question.
Or be allowed to be a hero. But I don't know the full story. I actually haven't.
I think that's a different statement. I mean, a 12-year-old can be the hero. We're not necessarily asking him to be. Is this little Southern drawl gonna go away?
It's too young. Welcome to Laughs from the Past. My name's Jimmy. I got Jake here with me. I was a history major in college. I love history. Read a bunch of history in my spare time. Jake is I don't know. I don't want it's not a budding interest of yours, but you like stories and jokes.
I like stories. I appreciate history. I just don't. I like appreciating history, but I don't go out of my way for history.
You let the stories come to you.
Yes.
On this podcast, I force them to you, and you learn.
And it's a little bit of during school, didn't really care at all about anything. And I feel like there's stories I should know more about.
Do you know about Pearl Harbor?
I do know about Pearl Harbor.
What do you know about it? Tell us everything.
Well,
name 4 wide receivers.
It's Ben Affleck, Cuba Gooding Jr., and times are tense.
Oh yeah.
No, my thing with Pearl Harbor, which was my elevator speech, because we do like to get into the jokes, and it comes along with getting older, but you really appreciate the magnitude of it. Like 2,000, what did I say? 2,400 people. I mean, that's a lot of people. Um,
I went
I
and
mean,
visited
like
the U.S. Arizona, which sunk full of people in Hawaii. It's
I've
real
never been to
weird,
Hawaii.
real eerie,
Yeah,
very creepy, very creepy. Well, my sister lived on whatever island Pearl Harbor is.
right.
Even if I knew it, aloha, no, a lot. Even if I knew it, I would butcher the way you say it. So I'm not even gonna
Sure.
try. I'm gonna stay away from it. So anyway, we have this is season 4, Blast from the Past. If you're just tuning in, it is all about kids in history, children who made history. Season 1 was random episodes. Season 2 was the Civil War. Season 3 was murder mysteries, or not even really murder, just historical mysteries. Season 4 is children who were part of history. So we got Calvin Graham. You ready to start reading the story?
Let's start reading the story.
The U.S. Navy looked good to Calvin Graham in the spring of 1942. His life was hard. His father had died 5 years before when he was 7, and his brother, Frank, 10. Their mother married a man who drank heavily and forced the boys out of the house. On their own, the boys shined shoes after school, earning just enough to rent a single room in a shabby hotel. Their only furnishings were a bed, a mirror, a washstand, and a water tower. I want to go punch this mom square in the face.
You're in the nose.
Punch her right in the face. So her husband dies. She remarries a drunk who doesn't like her 2 sons. So they just go put on the streets at ages 10 and 7, Jake. God damn. I do not like that woman. They had a bed, a mirror, a washstand, and a water pitcher. Rank those in order of importance if you were living in a room and only had 4 things. Those 4 things.
All right. So
Someone comes in and says you have to give up 1.
Well, bed is number 1 on the list, right?
I don't know for me.
It's bed, water pitcher, stand, and what?
A bed, like a water jug, water pitcher, a washstand, and a mirror.
Oh, mirror's out. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think washstand's my most important.
I haven't had mirrors in a lot of my rooms. That's because
Part show.
what I see looking back at me.
I think I'm going washstands my number 1. I need to be able to clean myself. I need running water.
There's lakes, dog.
That's not clean.
The ocean? That's the cleanliest place you could go into.
Well, I mean, they're in Houston, Texas. Like, it's sweaty and gross. Like, I'd need running water in a room. And then bed. Then bed. Then I need to be able to drink the water. I could just drink it out of my hands if I needed to. Mirrors, right. So far gone.
Yeah. Mirror's an accessory. That's kind of lavish.
Yeah. Do you know that my grandmother's boyfriend, his name was Ray. He passed away a couple years ago, but he was this hardened man. Like, you would think he rode a motorcycle. He was like a hardened guy, tough exterior. And we asked him why, about his parents once, and we'd known him for like 40 years. And he said, I might have told you the story. His name was Ray. We knew him as Ray. He said, well, my daddy named me Saul. My daddy was driving a tractor, caught fire, and he died. And my mom, she remarried a man who didn't like Jews much, so he named me Ray, and I've been Ray ever since. And we were sitting there like, hold up.
Yeah.
Your name is Saul and you're Jewish?
Yeah.
What?
This was a big audible from what we thought.
He just dropped it at dinner. Like, we were like, so what were your parents like, Ray? Well, your dad died when you were young. Your real name's Saul and you're Jewish. Welcome to the family that you've been part of for 40 years.
Times were different.
Nuts. Times were different. I guess that was, you just remarried, and whoever you remarried, they ruined your children, and I was allowed. So anyway, until America declared war against Japan, Calvin couldn't even imagine a future for himself. He was in 6th grade, but rapidly slipping behind his classmates. Oh, well, I think being homeless and like fending for himself might have hindered his schoolwork.
Gets in the way.
But then at the age of 14, Frank forged some papers and faked his way into the Navy, even though the law said you had to be 17 to enlist. After Frank left, Calvin drifted from one flophouse to another. But at least he had a plan. If Frank could enlist, so could he. Calvin decided to wait until the end of the school year to make his move. That way, if his plan didn't work, he could always go on to the 7th grade.
Got a backup plan.
Yeah. If war doesn't work out, I'll just go to the 7th grade and see what those guys know.
It's really unbelievable that was a decent game plan at the time. Like, you know what? I'm going to fake my papers. I'll tell them I'm 17, join the military, figure it out after that. Yeah. If it doesn't work out, 7th grade, fine.
Fine. I'll do it.
It's a decent plan in 1940.
I'll go take pre-algebra. Fine.
For that.
Until then, he would try to eat more and get stronger, since he had heard you had to be at least 5'2", and 125 pounds for the Navy to take you. Wow. He found a razor and started shaving to try to get a beard to grow. Seems the opposite of how that works.
The more you shave, the more it grows back. So he figures I might as well start shaving the skin so it'll start growing back. That's next level.
Takes all the skin off his face. He has scars. They're like, wow.
That's analytics. Hey, the scars would help too.
Scars would help too, yeah. Wow.
Seen some crap.
In August of 1942, Calvin went to the recruiting station with his friend Cleon Jones, who was also underage. The recruiting officer wasn't fooled when he looked at Calvin, but he needed sailors, since Japan still controlled much of the Pacific Ocean. The man told me not to tell him my age, Calvin said, just to sign my mother's name and tell him I was 17. Okay. Doesn't seem like he fooled anyone.
Didn't get anyone.
It seems like that guy just let a 12-year-old join the Navy.
Yeah, and again, that's where. And hey, you mentioned your grandma's boyfriend not dropping the nuke at the dinner table. Again, this is a similar boat. Like, yeah, well, it Thanksgiving 2004. Yeah, you know, I did end up enlisting in the Navy when I was 12 because I just lied about it on my papers and they let me in. What's up, Gramps?
Yeah.
You did what?
So the guy who was recruiting just said, "No, don't even tell me your age, son. I just need bodies."
Yeah.
Jesus. He took a train to San Diego for boot camp, where a dentist noticed that Calvin's 12-year molars weren't in yet. He ordered Calvin to take his file to the medical officer to be discharged from the Navy. Instead, Calvin waited until the dentist's back was turned and placed his file in a stack with the others. That's easy.
Hey, I'm going to turn my back now. You think it was one of those, or do you think he was actually sneaky?
I think he was actually sneaky on this one.
Okay, nice.
Good job, Calvin.
Good job.
5 weeks later, he was aboard the battleship South Dakota, headed for the Solomon Islands in the Pacific, which were controlled by Japanese forces. Soon the crew was trying to survive an all-out assault in the Battle of Santa Cruz. Calvin was assigned to a gun crew that shot down several Japanese planes. When the battle ended, Calvin and his crewmates formed a line to be congratulated by Lieutenant Sergeant Shriver. Shriver stopped when he got to Calvin. He asked how old I was. I told him, 13 in April, sir. So everyone that saw this kid was like, dude, what? You're a child.
We know you're a kid. You know that, right?
But this guy, this lieutenant sergeant, this is the first time he's seen him. So he's like, how old are you? And he goes, 13 in April, sir. Just straight up told him the truth there. Figures at this point, what are you going to do?
The jig is up.
What are you going to do now? I'm fighting for you, sir. Shriver sent him to the captain, who told Calvin that he would have to go home at once. Calvin insisted he had only been kidding, that he was really 17. Just joking.
I'm pulling your leg, man. Look how young I look.
I just get it all the time, so I figured I'd play that same trick on you.
Oh, we can't make jokes? We're at war now? We can't make any jokes?
The captain told me it wasn't anything to be ashamed of, Calvin said. He had already sent 3 other underage boys home that same day. No, you didn't. That's bad.
Yeah, he made that up to try to cover
He made
it
that
up.
up. There's no
Yeah.
way. Calvin desperately wanted to stay. He had a home now, food, friends, and a job. He stuck to his story, and the captain couldn't prove him wrong, so he stayed. The fortitude on this kid, kind of the best thing that this kid knew was like, if you stick to your story, there's no, and they can't prove it. They need you just as much as you need them.
Yeah, like it's never gonna escalate to the point where they care enough to get rid of you.
He's like,
worst case, they're gonna find a spot for you on the boat.
Yeah, like slop deck, doing food stuff. He's like, I just shot down that Jap plane, sir. Was I too young to do that?
Wasn't too young then, was I, huh, Hank?
But it does seem like everyone's just turning a blind eye. Like, all right, fine, stay.
Yeah.
In November, they fought in a battle of Guadalcanal, one of the bloodiest episodes of World War II. The South Dakota was hit again and again by enemy fire. One explosion threw Calvin down 3 decks of stairs. Another shell whistled in and knocked out the ship's electrical power. The South Dakota drifted unseen in the dark until a nearby U.S. ship trained a spotlight on it that made the ship a sudden target. Dude, we've talked about war in the revolutionary times on ships.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Just drifting because you have no power?
Blackout drifting boat, not a good time.
And then another U.S. ship shines a light on you to
they found us.
And then you just get bombarded.
Oh, wait. You have a light on us as a ship in the middle of war.
Is that you guys? Turn the fucking light off. Boom, 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 boom. That's terrible. Wow. War sucks. The room, the ship, the spotlight was on it, and that made the ship a sudden target. Shell after shell boomed onto Calvin's part of the boat. The room quickly filled up waist high with reddened seawater. Dead and wounded men were all around. Screams and exploding shells and planes made hearing nearly impossible. Calvin's partner went out for more supplies and never returned. Calvin was hit by a shell fragment, sending a bolt of pain through his head and crushing a part of his mouth. All night long, he did what he could to keep his mates alive. Often, all he could do was take belts off the dead to tie tourniquets for the living. Is 12 too young to be a hero, Jake? Yeah, 12 is too young.
No, 12, he is being a hero.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not doubting his heroism. I'm saying he's too young to be doing this.
He put himself in this spot. He wanted it. And even when they fought him, now he's proven it.
But he's ruined
He battled
his life.
to stay on the boat for this.
There's no way he has a real normal life after this. 12 years old, just taking belts off the dead and put...
Not a lot of heroes do have normal lives.
After the battle, they sailed back to Brooklyn, New York for repairs. Calvin was awarded the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, and several other medals for his bravery, but the ship's captain was still troubled by how young he looked. Well, that's interesting, because by giving him all those medals, you're kind of accepting or acknowledging. Like, I would think they would sweep it under the rug. Like, you did good, but we cannot give you these medals because then we confirm that we have a 12-year-old fighting for us.
12-year-old out there fighting for the country? Are you kidding me? That's like the best propaganda you can have. This kid's doing it. Why aren't you?
It's a pretty bad look.
Different times. Eat or be eaten.
The captain ordered Calvin to go home to Texas to get a letter of consent from his mother, allowing him to stay in the Navy. Fuck that. Fuck that, Mom. When Calvin got back with the letter, the captain had been reassigned. The new officer in charge ordered Calvin back to Houston to turn himself in to naval authorities there. They're the ones who signed you up, he said sternly. Let them straighten this out. Well, that's kind of crazy. Now, it's too young to be in this situation, but like Calvin finally found a home.
He thrust himself into this situation. This is where he wanted to be.
How about the mom? Yeah, but 12-year-olds shouldn't be deciding their own fate. They're too young.
No.
But how about
He's
the
17.
mom? How about the mom? Son returns home from war at like 12 years old. Mom, can you sign this so I can go back to war? What were you doing in the war? Oh, I was taking off belts from the dead, putting them on the living. Yeah,
He
sure,
never
go back.
taught. He forged.
Forge that, right? Yeah, he had to forge that.
Didn't speak to her.
He got back to wherever they shipped him, found the first lady on the street. Excuse me, ma'am, can you sign this for me?
He went into a bar with his purple medal. He had a beer, and then he had the bartender write it up for him.
Probably had sex with someone too.
Bartender.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh shit! Listen to how this next paragraph starts.
Okay.
Then Calvin's nightmares really began. Oh my god. He hitchhiked home and reported, but the Navy officials got his story backward. They thought he was 17 and trying to get out of the Navy by pretending he was 12, not the other way around. He was arrested as a deserter and placed in a naval prison in Corpus Christi, Texas, and his medals were taken away from him. See, they didn't mix that up, Jake. They didn't want to acknowledge that they had a 12-year-old. They had to get those medals away from him.
I think they mixed it up because they're human idiots.
I think they were like, fuck, we cannot.
Because what's the more likely story? A 17-year-old trying to pretend to get out of the war, or a 12-year-old with a purple medal trying to get back in the war?
I agree with you, but
Yeah.
I think someone up above was like, we can't give medals to a 12-year-old. Then we're condoning that we have a 12-year-old fighting for us. They had to get rid of those medals.
Dude.
He stayed behind bars for 3 months. No one knew where he was. Finally, his sister found him. Where does you mean? A little late to tell me he's got a sister.
Sorry.
Finally, his sister found him and got a newspaper reporter to write about him. The Navy released him but refused to grant him an honorable discharge or veterans benefits. Yeah, because 2 days after his 13th birthday, Calvin Graham, the battle-hardened war veteran, rejoined his classmates in 7th grade. Yeah, the military definitely wasn't gonna acknowledge that this happened. As soon as they
were saving a buck. They were in war.
It has here what the average like 7th graders were doing during the wartime in the classroom. So let's just compare it to what Calvin was doing. Students throughout America did everything they could to help the war effort. The yearbook of North School, serving grades 1 through 8 in Portland, Maine, lists the following student activities. They raised $5,000 to buy war stamps and bonds. They made bookmarks for injured soldiers. Collected flower vases to send to a veterans hospital. Pooled pennies together to buy yarn. Collected 10,000 tin cans to be used by the military. Collected 28 pounds worth of keys to be turned into bullets. That's kind of cool. Formed a first aid class in case of an attack. Sold 13,000 half pints of milk to raise money for war bonds. And room 103 alone collected 100 pounds of tin foil and 200 keys and 100 tin tubes. They learned lessons about the war and learned games from a book titled Fun in a Fallout Shelter. And Calvin Graham was taking belts off dead people and tying them on wounded people.
Tourniquets.
Calvin Graham, when he came back to 7th grade, was a problem, Jake. For the teacher. You think this is helping, Miss Shannon?
I'll tell you what. Yeah.
I was with the soldiers. They were laughing at these flower petals you send them. No one cares about this.
Well, I think those were going to the infirmary, right? He'd never gone there. He jumped that. He was dead guys on a boat straight to the naval jail. after getting a Purple
Have you
Heart.
seen the picture of him? He looks like a smug punk.
Oh, he's a total punk.
Yeah.
How much stuff used to be so much more valuable? We got too much crap.
What do you
Kids
think?
are going around collecting people's spare keys to make bullets. If you've got a spare key now on your keychain, it frustrates you.
Yeah.
And this was like a valuable thing at the time.
Yeah.
Too much crap. Now I'm looking around the room and what I can turn into bullets, and that's how you become a murderer. So I'm going to stop doing that. But,
what do you got? What'd you see?
I mean, dude, just like all these little freaking dinky things that you get from like Bed Bath & Beyond or all those places. Like, I don't know, melt that down, make it a bullet instead of, like, I can't even describe them. They're like fake vases. I don't know.
So I have another source here that says some more trivia facts about Calvin. Then we can talk about the rest of his life. Before he enlisted in Houston, he practiced speaking with a deeper voice so that he sounded older. And they also say he started shaving, hoping it would grow.
Right.
He forged his mother's signature to the recruiting officer. And he dressed in his older brother's clothes.
Smart.
He was really concerned about the dentist who looked at his records. Later in life, Calvin revealed just how unsure he was. I knew he'd know how young I was by my teeth, and when the dentist kept saying I was 12, I said I was 17. But he says he revealed to the dentist that the two boys ahead of him, his friends, were underage, and the dentist let him pass. However, Calvin always believed that the dentist knew the truth, but we were losing the war then, so they took 6 of us. So there were a lot of young kids then.
Yeah, I feel like it was when you hit 12, 13, it was kind of a look around the room and be like, is this school thing really for me? I don't think so. Down on Post Road, they'll let any kid in the military. Let's do it.
Yeah. But it says that this article says that he believed they knew the entire time that he was younger, and they were just taking young kids in.
Yeah, I mean, didn't we hear that at one part of the story?
Yeah, like the first guy, but like he says, everyone along the way.
Right.
It's crazy. So this says
it's that old man, like it's like a respectable trait. Like because I think our initial reaction when you think of someone that age now, you picture someone acting like the Hound from Game of Thrones, like being like, piss off, kid, or something like that. I think back then, if you were 30 and you saw a 13-year-old trying to sneak their way in the Navy, you were like, yeah, that's the way to do it, kid. That's the only way to make it in this world. Because it wasn't like they were going to go on and, teach physics or something like that.
Yeah. So this is a different ending, slightly different. Okay. The captain of the ship, Thomas Gatch, later said that although his crew was inexperienced, not one of the ship's company flinched from his post or showed the least disaffection. As the South Dakota disappeared into the smoke, the Japanese believed that the ship had been sunk, and the legend of Battleship X was born. Gatch's crew was profiled in the news for their heroism, and Calvin Graham received the Bronze Star for his actions and the Purple Heart for his injuries. His mother, however, recognized her son in the newsreel footage and contacted the Navy, informing it just how old the young sailor really was. That goes more to the lines of my theory, where like then they were like, okay, shit, like the public she can blow this up for us. Like we have kids fighting for us. We don't care, but we can't let the public know.
I think it was one of those things that was known in the public. I really do.
As a result, Calvin was sent to the brig at Corpus Christi, and his career in the Navy was over. His medals were revoked, as were his disability benefits.
Hey, thanks for calling, Mom. You've done enough.
Yeah. And then his sister.
Now I'm in jail for 3 months, and I've lost my Purple Heart.
Yeah, I think the Navy. I think the Navy wanted to try and wash their hands of having 12-year-olds.
Wow, you think this goes high up?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think you can't have 12-year-olds like on record. Like you can't have this be part of the U.S. military. It's just a terrible look. I mean, that's probably something they would say about. That's like something they probably used in newsreel about the Japanese, like they're brainwashing their kids and having 12-year-olds fight. That's probably some propaganda they said about that, so they can't like be promoting it on their side as well.
Yeah, that gets into a whole thing. I mean, who's dictating the news and all of that stuff? And I don't know. I think the only problem with that mentality for me is like, you know, there wasn't Twitter or anything back then. It wasn't like, yo, look at this 12-year-old.
But the mom knowing. Otherwise, there was many other young kids.
I mean, what was she going to blow up? She was going to go to the Houston newspaper and say, hey, I saw my son on TV fighting in the Navy. And they'll go, okay, you smell like booze. Get out of here.
Well, that's what his sister did. Said, my 14-year-old brother's in jail, or 12-year-old brother's in jail. And then they released him because of that.
Yeah. But I mean, even that was local because he was in like a Houston jail, you know?
Yeah. He was in, Corpus
Wasn't
Christi.
the whole celebration thing? That was in Brooklyn, right? Because they sent him home from there.
What celebration?
When he got the Purple Heart and everything.
Oh,
the boat went back to Brooklyn to get repairs.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. But then,
I don't know.
When he returned to Houston, he was a hometown hero and treated as a bit of a celebrity. This quickly faded, however, and Calvin struggled. He tried to go back to school, but was too far behind other kids his age to keep up. He married young, at only 14 years of age.
Oh, yeah. Different times. I know it doesn't seem that long ago, but it was different times.
I think this is – I don't think this was the norm. I think he's a one-off.
Yeah, well, I mean, young nowadays would be what, 21?
Yeah. He became a father at 15.
Oh, yeah.
And divorced by 17.
Yeah, circle of life.
By 17 years old, this kid had seen many die. He had killed, probably. Married, had a kid, divorced, all by 17.
Now he's old enough to enroll in the military.
And he did. At 17, he enlisted in the Marines when he finally turned 17.
And that's obvious, yeah.
While on duty, he fell from a pier and broke his back and leg, causing him to spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. The government paid for that injury, but still refused to return his medals or to pay him for the injuries he suffered as a boy on the South Dakota. Yeah, because they can't have that on record. He kept writing to the Navy and to his congressional representatives asking for help. He won his pay and all of his medals back except the Purple Heart, awarded for being injured in battle. That was the one that meant the most to him. In 1988, a TV movie was made about him. Calvin dedicated it to all the boys who faked their age and fought in World War II. They helped win that war, he said. The Americans were losing the war. We thought if we got in and did our part, we could turn that thing around, and we did. In 1994, 2 years after his death, the Navy finally gave Calvin's widow his Purple Heart. Fucking Navy.
Yeah.
Bunch of assholes. In this
That's
one,
when he needed social media, man.
Yeah.
Would have had that Purple Heart in a week.
Man. That's a cool story. Kind of sad.
It's nuts. It's nuts. I think that's the biggest. What year is it? 2019. Quick math. I mean, we're talking 60. I mean, 80 years ago. So a grandparent's lifetime ago, all of this happened.
Yeah. So in 1988, he's an old man.
In wheelchair.
And they finally are like, yeah, we'll give you the money now that, you deserved then. Enjoy it for the next 4 years of your life.
Yeah.
Why would they give all the medals back besides the Purple Heart?
That part was a little bizarre. And that's where I think something like that, I don't think that helps your conspiracy there, because it's like if that's where I think some just dumb Navy stuff kicks in, where they're like, no, you got your stuff revoked for a reason. It definitely wasn't because we threw you in a prison when you were a kid in the Navy. And they're like, all right, here's some awards, old man. We can make this look good, but you're not getting the Purple Heart.
Yeah, I don't get why they wouldn't give him the Purple Heart. I mean, I know it's like the most prestigious thing, but wow. There's a bunch of others. This says another underage Texan was Bobby Lee Pettit. He enlisted at age 13. It's crazy, man. That is nuts. 12 years old. I mean, you can juxtapose it to so many 12-year-olds, and it's just bizarre. Shouldn't happen.
Different world.
But good for Calvin. I guess good for Calvin. Like, he helped save lives, but
it's what he wanted to do.
But only because of his terrible circumstance of his life. I'm sure he would rather have like good parents and been able to go to school. But he was an orphan, basically, living on the streets.
Yeah. I don't know if he wanted to go to school. I mean, school was kind of viewed differently back then. A lot of people were much more proud to go fight than go to school.
That's true.
I don't think anyone prefers to be an orphan.
Yeah.
I'll hammer my foot down on that.
Cool. So if you want to look into it, so I'm looking at now, there's a bunch of different like first-hand accounts. He lived pretty long. I can't believe he fell off a pier at 17 and was paralyzed for life.
Yeah, it sucks.
This paragraph, he's naming all the nicknames from his division.
You love
this guy, Arthur Robinson. He enlisted. He became known by names other than that given when they popped into this world. His were Bud, Stretch, and Speed. Which would you like out of those? Bud, Stretch,
Speed.
Yeah, you like Speed. Bud's not bad.
Stretch would be rude.
Yeah.
Bud is too generic.
Bud's a good one. I use Bud whenever I'm talking to little kids. That's my go-to.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. Too generic. You don't want to just be the Bud.
But an old man named Bud, that's cool.
Kind of fun.
Yeah. All right, that ends this episode of Last from the Past. Calvin, what's his name? I'm blanking now. Calvin Graham.
Calvin Graham.
Insane. So we had a 12-year-old that was fighting in the Navy in the Revolutionary War. Now we have a 12-year-old fighting in the World War II. We had a 15-year-old that was a Major League Baseball player. And the Newsboy strike so far. We'll keep going. Do a couple more.
Yeah.
Bunch of kids doing crazy things, make you feel inadequate about your childhood.
A little bit. Being heroes.
There you go. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys.